Welcome to the Keep a Light Heart podcast. I am Lisa O. I'm an emotional intelligence teacher, consciousness coach, and creator of 2-Year Affirmations card decks. My guest today is Dr. Kerri Nevin, co-owner of Heartlight Psychological Services, doctor of clinical psychology, and certified Mayo Clinic wellness coach. Hi, Dr. Kerri. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. In this podcast series, I'm talking with a variety of practitioners who can teach us how to keep a light heart on our health journeys with a little honesty, help, and hope and humor. So with that in mind, what is clinical psychology?
Clinical psychology is a way of understanding the self. And typically, you have a relationship with a therapist who meets with you to discuss whatever issues you've got going on. And I think it's really wonderful to have a person who's outside your circle of family and friends to be your coach and your partner and to walk that path with you toward creating the life that you want to live. And sometimes we lose that objectivity when it's just, within ourselves. And so to have somebody there with you to walk that path, share knowledge, wisdom, information, life experience, it can be incredibly rewarding. And I've been on both sides of the couch. So I find it to be extremely rewarding.
What's the difference between psychology and clinical psychology? What is the clinical part of that?
Well, the clinical part is you're actually working with a person. So you're actually working with people. There
Okay.
are other kinds of, psychology where people are more research oriented and they're just doing experiments, that kind of thing. But clinical psychology is really all about working directly with people.
Thank you for explaining that. And then
Sure.
what about your wellness coach, your certified Mayo Clinic wellness coach? What is that?
Coaching is not like therapy. Therapy is more about let's get into your history, let's get into your past as it relates to what's going on. Coaching is much more present based. It is, certainly there's a cognitive behavioral perspective that I adopt when I work with patients. But when I work with coaching clients, we're just focused more on the here and now. We're focused on solution-based kinds of approaches. And, it's separate. It is a different kind of approach. I was trained at the Mayo Clinic and got certified as a wellness coach through them. And so it's just a little bit of a different approach in that respect.
Mm, that's great. I'm sure one informs the other when you work with people.
It does. And certainly there can be some overlap, but we try to keep it rather separate when I'm working with people who are in Illinois because I'm licensed in Illinois, and so I'm licensed to be able to do psychotherapy. But when it comes to coaching, that is something that and I coach people from all over the world, and so I just really utilize my role as coach under those circumstances.
Okay, that's great. So you offer those two services. I saw on your website that you are an empathic psychologist. What does that mean?
I really think it's all about cultivating your sense, your capacity to feel into another's heart, really.
Mm.
And I think, there are those people out there that are just natural empaths. I think that, we tend to be drawn to these kinds of professions. And I've always been like very sensitive. So when I'm watching TV and if somebody is crying, I can't not cry. It's just something that is like, even at silly commercials, it doesn't take anything at all for me to be able to like relate very intensely.
Mm.
So that's how I would describe that. And I think it's intuition. I think it's, intuition, we all have it. But you can choose whether or not to cultivate it like you do a muscle, right? So I think I've always been sort of naturally intuitive, and that allows me to help connect to the people that I work with more effectively and really come to communion. That's how I would talk about it.
Yeah, it took me till about age 40 to realize that other people don't feel other people's emotions. And I was kind of
Uh,
blown away when I learned that. And so, one of the things I've been working on since then is how to set clear boundaries,
mhm.
because sometimes I have to realize these are not my feelings, these are their feelings, these are my feelings here. Do you have any advice on, as a therapist, how you practice that as an empath?
Yeah, and just in terms of separation. So I think that when I'm working out of my office, I use the ride home as sort of unwinding my connection to the people that I've worked with that day. It's a little different actually being at home because of COVID. We're now able to speak to people via Zoom. And that is a little bit different. So I'm at home Monday and Tuesdays, so I have like a little ritual that I follow, and it can be even as simple as, okay, I'm getting ready for the part of the evening where I'm focusing more within myself rather than outside. So I have my little ritual. I'm like washing my face, I'm putting on my essential oils, I turned on all the lights in the house, and that signals to me this is my time now. This is
Mm.
separate.
Are there any practical tools you can teach us based on either of your practices on how we can keep a light heart?
I think so, yes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Institute for Heart Math or the Heart Math Institute, but they were interested in determining whether or not brain or mind was determining everything going through the body, or was there a reciprocal relationship between mind and heart? So they decided to do a study where they looked at two measures. They looked at EEG waves, so those electrodes that they put on your head. They looked at EEG waves, and then they also looked at EKG waves, which are heart rhythms. And they instigated two emotional feeling states. The first one was frustration. And when they looked at the measures were very choppy. People couldn't answer simple questions. But when they instigated a state of appreciation, both the EEG waves and the EKG waves beautifully matched each other. People reported being able to answer very complex questions easily. Athletes reported being in the zone. So that they created something called the quick coherence technique. It's a relaxation technique. And Paul and I, my husband and I, who've been in private practice together, call it the inner smile. It's just more warm and fuzzy. And it's all about putting your hand on your heart. And when you do this, you start to increase the flow of a neurochemical called oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is the biochemistry that you produce in excess when you have your babies on your chest or your fur babies, or you give someone a hug.
Hmm.
And so this is the biochemistry that makes sure that we're connected to prefrontal cortex, which sees all options and creative problem solving and decision making. So just putting your hand on your heart, I will do this at night before bed, and it just puts me into a state of relaxation so that I can gently fall into sleep. And I have found that just this little, okay, I'm just going to focus my attention here has been incredibly, incredibly helpful.
Mm, I love that technique. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with techniques and tools?
Well, yeah, actually, I have a little finger trap here. Do you know what this is?
Yes, I've seen those.
You know it. You've seen them before. Okay. I really like this. And I just did a presentation where I use this as a tool. And so when you put your fingers in the finger trap and you pull, you're stuck, right? I'm not going anywhere. And I use this as a metaphor for resistance. So what you resist persists, it continues. So if you're feeling angry about something, really any negative emotion is an example of resistance of what is. So, Lisa, do you know how to get out of this?
You stop resisting.
You're like, okay, that's one way. And you lean in, you push in. That's right. You push in and you get free. And I use that as an example of acceptance. And people oftentimes struggle with acceptance because I believe they think it means I need to give up wanting what I want, or I need to like let something go. It's really more about being in acceptance and honoring, where am I right now with how I'm feeling. Let me honor that, and let me use that as a springboard for moving forward and moving through. And I have just found this to be a really useful little tool, a reminder, because when we perceive a threat, either emotionally or physically, we go what we refer to as limbic, and we go to that reptilian old brain that just is all about reactivity and not really about responsiveness, informed responsiveness, which is what prefrontal cortex is all about. And so we want to cultivate being connected to that part of our brain that informs us with all of our choices and all of our capacity for creativity with regard to problem solving and just being in a state of receptivity to receive answers, ideas, and inspirations. That's what being connected to prefrontal cortex is all about. And it's more of like I guess, a formal way of speaking, but you can practice this just like you go to the gym. This is an emotional muscle that the more you practice, the better you get at.
That is a great visual tool because oftentimes I find I will be clenching my hands or my jaws, and that is that resistance, and that is that my body showing that stress, it sounds like. And so having a
Yeah,
tool like that kind of, and this other tool kind of makes you just relax a little. And
it
then
does. It makes I find people like start to breathe a little bit more deeply, and it just brings you back into, I believe, right relationship with yourself. And that's the basis of all relationships with people in our lives. So cultivating being in right relationship with yourself, utilizing these tools and understanding that you have power. You have the ability to connect to your power. I just think that that makes me feel really good. So I just want to share that with everybody I know.
thank you so much. Those are wonderful. I'm going to switch gears a little and find out, how did you find Medical Medium?
A friend of mine had told me about Medical Medium from Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop website. And we talked about intuition before, and all I did, Lisa, was look at the information on that Goop website, and I got goosebumps from my head to my toes. And I was so hungry to understand what was happening to me at that time and to understand my health condition. And I just knew. I pointed right at it. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I said, this is going to help me heal because I had been going from doctor to doctor to try to heal. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis in 2011. But when I look backward, I can see that I was ill for a very long time.
Mm.
And at the time, AnthonyWilliam was doing readings over the phone and had a lottery system for this. And I just thought, I'm going to put my name in. And I went ahead and I did that. And 4 months later, I remember exactly where I was. I was at the gym and I got a call from his office saying, hey, you've been chosen for a meeting with AnthonyWilliam. And I just felt like a prayer was answered. It was incredible, incredible.
Is there one question you can share that you asked him with us that he answered? And what was that helped you heal?
Oh, well, he identified that I was struggling with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And this was now back in 2016. So this is before Vimergy. This is before any of the other healing tools that are now present for people. But Anthony was able to direct me to my own protocol of supplements and herbs and foods. And I do remember at the time he said, Kerri, no more meat for you. And I laughed. I just thought that was hilarious. I was like, that's never happening. And, here I am so many years later, and it's like I do feel the best when I'm plant-based. So um, what a gift that meeting was. And I met with him subsequently for my children, two of my three kids after, and then again for another meeting. And I just feel so incredibly blessed that I had that opportunity and really jump-started my understanding of what my body was asking for.
Mm.
And then I combined it with my training as a psychologist and that emotional side. And so now the way I work is I address everything mind and body. And it's the perfect marriage, in my opinion, for helping other people identify their capacity for their own healing, really mind, body, and spirit. It's
Mm.
for me, it's all three. And if that's not something somebody wants to work with in terms of the spiritual piece, then we just stick to the mind and body.
Why do you believe Medical Medium information to be true?
Within 3 months, the nodules were gone. My skin cleared up. I found my emotional bandwidth to become lengthened. Like I was much more patient. I remember before this information, I would wake up angry. And my husband would say, why are you angry? You just woke up. And I'm like, I don't know. And I think I was just so inflamed internally. Of course, you couldn't see it, Now I could see it. Looking at pictures, I could see it, but I didn't know it. And so I thought to myself, okay, let me get this straight. Doctors are telling me to take medication and then not to take medication because it's not working. Nobody is able to help me. And now Anthony's come out with this extremely unusual information that comes from a spiritual source. And the communication was, it's not your fault. And it's an underlying virus that you can actually eat a certain way and focus on emotions in a certain way and dial that down so that you can reduce your symptoms. And I just thought, okay, pragmatically, the worst case scenario is I'm going to be eating better and I'm going to give it a go. And like I said, within 3 months, the nodules were gone. My skin cleared up. It definitely was not a straight shot of improvement. It was over years of up and down, up and down, up and down. But I'm now at this place where, I feel so good. It doesn't mean that I'm not working on things that pop up. They do pop up. But I now, in my heart of hearts and in my being, know this has worked for me. This has worked for my patients. This has worked for my children and for my husband. So I I now believe it and feel it in such a way that I can relax and just know, hey, you know what? There's another answer. Even if I have a question right now that I don't have an answer to, I'm going to find it. And I'm going to find, hopefully, it in this information, this very sacred information.
One of the things that I try to do in my consciousness coaching sessions is align people with their purpose. And I do that by connecting to their subconscious. And when I looked up the meaning of your name, it said dark and mysterious. So I looked up the definition of mysterious, and it says arousing wonder or curiosity, especially by being difficult to explain or understand.
Hmm. Golly, that is so interesting. Because I think people come in mystified sometimes. They come in not understanding, like, they don't even know sometimes to ask the question, like, what is this? A lot of times I was talking with a physical therapist, and he said, some people come in and they're like, fix me. And I said, gosh, yeah, do I want that? That's awesome. But I want to understand too, like, what is my body telling me?
Hmm.
And I think that's where the medical medium information is so beautiful because it allows an interpretation of the body to be understood. And then when you have that understanding, it's like, okay, now I can relax. Now I can see a pathway. And I just thank God every day and certainly thank AnthonyWilliam and Spirit of Compassion for putting this information out there so that we can live the best way and shine out who we are
Hmm.
and let other people see our light and inspire them to shining their own.
One of my favorite quotes from Anthony's books is from Brain Saver, and it's his dedication. And it says, "For the light that stands in the way of the darkness."
Mm.
And I just love that in your name, there's that meaning of dark, mysterious, and you've gone through that journey and you've come out to the other side and you found light. And the name of your clinic is
Heartlight. It's Heartlight Psychological Services. I just think that's amazing. Thank you for putting that together for me in the way that you did. That was a real gift for me to see and for me to hear and for me to feel. That's beautiful.
definitely get the chills when I get this information, and I just love what I get to do now. I feel that if you asked me if I would rather, which we're going to play a game, would you rather?
Yeah.
Would I rather have experienced all the pain and suffering that I did to end up here so that I know how to live the rest of my life and how to help people?
Mhm.
I would say yes. But when I was going through the worst of it, I would have said no.
I'm completely with you on it. I mean, who wants to be in pain? Who wants to struggle? Who wants to feel like there's no answers? That's such a dark place, such a dark place to come from. And what a miracle you are
Mm.
to have been able to go through what you've gone through and then to come out and find even a greater purpose.
One of the most powerful sessions I had was actually my first personal reading in the Akashic Records. And I was asking, what is holding me back from achieving my purpose? Why am I here? And I received this powerful answer that go look up the meaning of your name. And so I never really liked my name Lisa growing up. It was very common, and there were so many Lisas, and I wanted to be like a Stephanie or a Tiffany or something like that. And so I looked up the meaning of my name, and it means abundance. And
Wow.
in that moment, my life changed completely. I just left that scarcity mindset. And so every time I hear my name, Lisa, I say the affirmation, I am abundance.
Oh, I love that.
When I did that first Akashic record reading, I saw this, I receive everything in visuals.
Uh-huh.
Not everything. I hear, I see, I sense, I feel, but I receive a lot of symbology. That's how I was taught to access the Akashic records. And I saw this beautiful flower on this barren cliffside. And the message was God can grow you up out of a barren terrain into a beautiful flower, and you can spread abundance and beauty and shelter to everyone around you. So I do feel that's my mission now, is to provide ways for people to find abundance in their life.
I'm fascinated by your involvement in the Akashic Records. I know my husband has referenced to them before. He's also somebody who's like traveled with gurus, and he's done Tai Chi Qigong for like 40 years and into with mystics and all of this stuff. So he had mentioned the Akashic Records, but you're only the other person that I've heard mention it. And that, is this something you practice and like you do sessions with? Like, how does that work?
So, what I learned in my healing journey is that there are a lot of different spiritual tools that we can use. And I've tried to really narrow down to what I believe is of the light of God. And this is the one that resonated most with me. And so I did some different trainings and learned how to use clairvoyance in order to see beyond the physical eye.
Mhm.
And it's a place you go to. They call it the Book of Life
Okay.
in the Bible, or it's referenced in other places, but it basically holds the energy of all of our, if you believe in past lives, past, present, future lives, and we can access it. Anyone can access it, but with training, it's a little easier to do that. And you can go, and I use it in a way where I asked for symbology and ways to see answers to questions. So someone will come to me and they might be really struggling with, I don't know what my purpose is. And so we'll have a session. They just get to sit back and relax, but we'll formulate a question together. And
Mhm.
then I will go and just do a quick meditation. I go up to the Akashic records, which is in the ether,
Mhm.
and I ask the question. I open their records and say, how can Kerri find her purpose, or what is holding her back from achieving her purpose?
Mhm.
And then I receive symbols. I'll provide a limiting belief that's holding them back with the symbol, and a beneficial belief, and then prescribe an affirmation to use that you can
Nice.
help and train that.
I think what you're doing is, gifting other people hope. And that's really what we need to do, is we need to magnify the hope so that people can dare to believe in themselves and
Mm.
believe in answers. And that's one thing that I tell people, is just do not stop. Just in any way you can, keep a little bit of space open for the possibility of receiving your answers.
Would you like to now talk about some medical medium favorites?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Love it.
So, what is your favorite medical medium book?
I think my favorite medical medium book are really the brain books.
Mm.
I love knowing that if there's a neurological symptom, there's a protocol. I mean, what a gift. What a gift to know that, because neurological symptoms can be so incredibly devastating. So I think the brain books are my favorite. And I just really loved the brain shot therapies. And I love that they address the emotions as well as the other symptoms, I should say. I think it's genius.
What is your favorite medical medium spiritual tool?
I think praying to the 144,000 unknown angels is just a practice I do more often than not. I love the way Anthony talks about, there are all these beings that want to help support us. And I kind of feel that. I feel the truth of that. It very much resonates for me. So when I do my meditations in the morning, I always include a hello to the 144,000 unknown angels. Like, thank you for helping me out. I know that you probably don't get thanked enough, but I'm wanting to thank you. So I just feel gratitude and appreciation is its own prayer, and I want to practice that as much as I possibly can, because that puts me up here in a vibration where all the good stuff lives and all the answers are. And so that's one little technique that I use, and one little favorite of mine.
I mentioned that I have this affirmation practice that I cue my affirmations with activities.
Yeah.
And so anytime I see the number 222, I say, thank you, angels. And the card just says, thank you, angels, but I will go down and list all the angels who were helping me that day, or who come to mind. And so
I love that.
it's just a great way, and what's really nice is sometimes it helps to lift my vibration, because I'll be stressed and I'll just be looking at the clock and it'll say 222, and it just makes me light up and say, thank you, angels. Thank you for reminding me that you're helping me, that I'm not alone on this journey, and that I have support.
1,000%. And, I think those signs are really all around us, and we get caught up in life and we forget to look. So if you can't look for something, you're not going to find for something unless you're able to look for it.
On that note, let's play a little game. You ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather is the game.
Okay.
So the first question is, would you rather be able to see 10 minutes into your own future, or 10 minutes into the future of anyone but yourself?
Oh God. I think I would just rather see into my own future, because with children, if I could see into their futures I don't want to be worried. So I would just focus on me.
Would you rather take amazing selfies, but all of your other pictures are horrible, or take breathtaking photographs of anything but yourself?
I think breathtaking photographs of anything else. Yeah.
Would you rather everyone in the world be kinder and more compassionate, or more intelligent?
Oh, kinder and compassionate.
Spoken like a true empath.
Totally.
Would you rather be born again in a totally different life, or born again with all the knowledge you have now?
Born again with all the knowledge I have now.
Would you rather never had autoimmune health issues, or never found medical medium information?
So if I never had the autoimmune condition, then I wouldn't have found the medical medium information. I would rather have had the autoimmune condition so that I could find the information, because I feel like it's gone above and beyond providing for me the life that I'm living, and I think that I will live.
Would you rather every third thought you have be out loud, or never be alone no matter what you're doing?
Oh, I would rather have my thought be broadcast than never be alone. I actually really like my alone time, I have to say.
Would you rather only wear uncomfortable shoes when you go outside, or comfy shoes always, even to bed?
I would rather wear uncomfortable shoes. I really like no shoes in bed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kerri. If any of you would like to find Dr. Kerri, she's at heartlightps.com. And if you would like to follow this podcast, you can go to lisao.co.